Are you planning a winter trip to Italy and wondering how you're going to fit all those bulky clothes into your suitcase? And what about trying to get them into a carry-on? Well, I'm here to tell you that you really can do it. I've traveled back and forth to Italy in all seasons, and I'll show you how you can pack for a winter trip in just a carry-on plus a personal item. I'll share my favorite packing tips, and I'll show you what I'm planning to take on my upcoming trip to prove that it really can be done. Andiamo! I actually have two winter trips coming up. One to London for 2 weeks in December, and another to Milan, Verona, and Venice for 3 weeks in February. The weather is likely to be about the same in both places, maybe a little bit more rain in London, but generally I think I can pack the same thing for both trips. I'm a true believer in carry-on travel for a couple of reasons. First of all, just ease of moving around, over cobblestone streets and uneven sidewalks, up and down lots of stairs and onto trains when you have a smaller bag. And don't get me started on the airlines losing your bag. The last time we went to Italy, Ed had to check his bag, long story on that. But at the end of the day, the airlines lost his bag for 8 days. So that's why I'm such a fierce proponent of carry-on only travel. So now how do we fit all of those clothes into that tiny little carry-on bag? With a little bit of thought and planning, you can actually get everything you're going to need to be both stylish and comfortable for a 2-week trip. First, you're going to want to check the weather at the places where you'll be traveling. And a good idea is to check the historical averages for high and low temperatures for the last few years to get an idea of what you're likely to encounter, and also whether there's likely to be rain or snow while you're there. And then right before you leave for your trip, check the actual weather forecast to see whether you may need to make some adjustments. Next, you're going to want to have a think about the activities that you're going to be doing while you're there. Is it mainly city walking and museums, or are you going to be out hiking in nature? Will you be attending any formal events like weddings or going to the opera where you'd need to have dressier clothes? In most cases, when you go out to dinner, you really don't need to get dressed up, so you don't need to bring a lot of special stuff for dinners out. On both of the trips that I have coming up, I'm going to be doing a lot of walking, but it's all going to be in the city, so I'm going to plan accordingly. Now you're ready to plan your wardrobe. You're going to want to do this at least a week before you leave on your trip. That way you're not rushed and you can make adjustments as needed. If you wait until the last minute to pack your suitcase, that's going to guarantee that you pack too much stuff and you take things that are the wrong things that you didn't even need to take. The way to make sure that you stay warm while also packing light is to dress in layers. So instead of bringing along bulky hoodies and big thick sweaters, you're going to want to bring lighter weight items that you can layer for warmth. Ideally, these should be layers of clothes in breathable fabrics like merino wool and cashmere because they provide a lot of warmth but without a lot of bulk. So if you put a merino wool base layer topped with a cashmere sweater and then a warm coat, gloves, scarf, hat, you're good to go, warm and toasty. Not only do thin layers save room, but keep in mind that in the winter you can actually wear your clothes multiple times before you wash them, especially if you use fabrics like merino wool, because they have antimicrobial properties that keep them from smelling even after several wears. Next, you'll want to bring a few carefully chosen items in a limited and mostly neutral color palette. What you're going to want is for every top to match almost every bottom. And that way, you can make tons of outfits out of relatively few number of clothing items. This time, I'm going to try the 5-4-3-2-1 method of packing that I've seen other YouTubers use. And the way that works is you take 5 tops, 4 bottoms, 3 shoes, 2 toppers, and 1 other accessory item that goes with everything. And I'll make some tweaks as I go along if those don't fit exactly what I need. Now, I like to start choosing my bottoms first because that way I can then make sure that I have tops that go with every bottom or almost every bottom. So I'm going to start with a pair of jeans, and I'm going to bring a dark wash pair of jeans because they can be dressed up or down more easily than a lighter wash pair of jeans. Then I've got a pair of black pants, a pair of brown pants, and a pair of olive green corduroy pants. I'm not taking any skirts or dresses on this trip because I'm always cold, so I probably wouldn't wear them. But if you wanted to switch out some of your pants for a skirt or a dress, that would be great. For my 5 tops, I'm going to bring a white merino wool long sleeve t-shirt as my base layer that I can wear under sweaters, and also a white and blue striped long sleeve t-shirt, a white and blue button-up shirt, and then an animal print or a leopard print shirt that I can wear for dressier dinners, a brown cashmere sweater that can be worn either by itself or over my merino wool base layer, a navy blue polo, and a cream colored Henley sweater. Whoops, I think I just went over the 5-item limit. But one of those can be worn on the plane, and your plane outfit doesn't count here. That's a bonus. So I'm really only 1 item over my limit. For toppers, I have this burgundy colored zip-up hoodie in cashmere that I got from Quince last year, and I've worn it on a bunch of trips and it's been great. I also have a blazer, sort of a Glen plaid blazer, which goes with most of these outfits, and kind of a cream colored zip-up sweater that I'm actually going to be wearing on the plane. For my shoes, I'm going to bring a pair of black waterproof Chelsea boots. I am assuming there's going to be a lot of rain in London and possibly some snow in Italy, so those will serve me well. In addition, I've got a pair of brown suede sneakers and a pair of brown boots that are also waterproof. I'll wear those chunky waterproof boots on the plane, so they won't be taking up room in my suitcase. But if you're going to Italy or frankly anywhere in Europe in the wintertime, you're going to want to make sure that you take at least 1 pair of waterproof shoes. As for accessories, I'll take a belt and a scarf. So I was only supposed to be taking 1 accessory, but I can wear that scarf on the plane. So if all of this fits into my suitcase, plus what I'm wearing on the plane, I should have more than 20 different outfits to wear on my trip. And because I'll be dressing in layers, I should be toasty warm all the time. Oh, and I almost forgot. I'll also, of course, bring a pair of pajamas. I'll have 10 pairs of undies, a couple of extra bras, and a few pairs of socks. And another packing tip, if you bring merino wool socks, you can actually wear them for a few days before you have to wash them, again, because they do not smell. So now we're gonna pack our suitcase and see if it fits. Now, I have always been a big proponent of packing cubes. I think they're a game changer. For one thing, it keeps you organized. You don't have to rip your whole suitcase apart to find what you're looking for because you've got your clothes organized into different cubes. Now, for wintertime, packing cubes are a no-brainer. In particular, you're going to want to have compression packing cubes because they squeeze all the air out of your bulky clothes and they get everything to fit much more easily. I just got these packing cubes on Amazon. They're from a company called Tripped. And there are lots of different packing cubes on Amazon, but these are extremely lightweight. And what I really like about them is they have this mesh top so that you can see what's in each cube. I've got 2 big packing cubes. I'm going to use 1 for my tops and 1 for my bottoms. And I've got a smaller one for my underwear and socks. Now, I used to be a folder. I would fold all my clothes and before I put them in the packing cube. But now, because I've got this mesh top and I can see into them, I'm actually going to roll my clothes because then I can line them all up, and without even opening it, I can see what I've got. So, as for the suitcase that I'm bringing, This is my trusty Away bag that I've had for years. It's called the Away Bigger Carry-On. And it complies with the size restrictions on most US airlines, but it definitely would not comply with some of the smaller budget airlines in Europe. But we normally travel on United and American when we go overseas. And once we get there, we tend to take trains everywhere. So we're not as concerned with the other types of airlines. But you definitely should check the websites of each of the airlines you'll be traveling on, because they all have completely different size requirements. Before I put the cubes in, one thing you should know is on this side of the suitcase, there's actually a lot of extra room between these metal bars that are for the handle. And so you can actually use this space efficiently. I'm gonna put my pajamas in here like this. And now I can lay the cubes on top of it like so. And now I've got this side of the suitcase pretty well packed up. So on this side, I'm gonna put my boots, my shoes, and all the other miscellaneous items. And don't worry, you know, it's a little bit of a puzzle, like a game of Tetris. You don't have to worry about your shoes being together. Just put everything where it fits the best. And I've got my cube that has my underwear and socks in it. So I'll put that in here. I don't have to, my boots I don't have to put in here because I'm going to be wearing them. But I will put my cosmetic bag, or my toiletries bag, my cosmetic bag. Now I have one other toiletries bag for my wet items, or you know, my liquids, and also my prescriptions, but they're gonna go in my personal item bag. I'll put my hairbrush and my comb in here. I'm also bringing this cute little purse. So at night, for example, or when I don't wanna carry a lot of stuff in my normal crossbody bag, I can bring this and just put my glasses and my phone and a couple of credit cards, and I can even wear this under my coat. So I think this will come in handy. So that's all I have for this side of the bag. And then going back over here, I'll just lay my blazer on top of everything else. And strap everything in like so. Tighten it up. And there we go. Everything fits pretty nicely. There we go. Ready to go. So I'm bringing a minimal amount of toiletries and makeup with me on this trip because I find that I really don't need that much. And so what I do is I've got one pouch for my liquids and my prescriptions, and I put these in my personal items so I can get them out when I go through TSA. And then I've got a small cosmetic bag and I've got the rest of my toiletries in here. Now, a lot of people like to use these big cosmetic bags that fold up, and you can put all of your toiletries in them and you can hang them up when you get in the bathroom. And that's actually a good solution in these tiny European bathrooms where there's no counter space. But I find that when it comes to packing, I like to have multiple smaller pouches because I can fit them in here and there in my suitcase. Now, I've discovered a couple of interesting new things when it comes to toiletries. One is that I no longer am buying those expensive trial sizes that you get at the drugstore of shampoo and conditioner and so forth. Instead, I've got these nifty squishable containers, which kind of, once you use the product, you know, it flattens out. So it doesn't take up much room in your toiletries bag. And you can get a whole set of all these nifty little containers for, I think it's like $8. It has all different things, little spray bottles, little liquids pouches, And you can label them all, and then you find that they don't take up much room. And then the other nifty thing is I've got these individual little bags. I think I got 400 for like $6. And so you could put like all your pills in here. For example, this has all my Advil, and I have my Tums. And you could put all sorts of other stuff, Dramamine, whatever, if you just want to take a few and not a whole package. So I thought those were pretty nifty. And I'll put a link to them in the description box below. They're all available on Amazon. So one thing I'm not bringing, and I haven't been bringing on recent trips, is I'm not bringing my hair dryer, even though I do blow dry my hair every time I shower. But that's because pretty much every hotel and every Airbnb has a hair dryer. Now, if you do need to bring a hair appliance like a curling iron or a flat iron or whatever, make sure that you bring a dual voltage one. And those also are available on Amazon. If you don't bring a dual voltage appliance, then you really need to bring a converter, because the voltage in Europe is twice as high as the voltage in the United States. And so if you plug in a US appliance into an outlet in Europe, it will basically fry that appliance. So make sure you look for dual voltage on there, and you can switch it back and forth between here and there. Now, if you're still worried about trying to squeeze 2 weeks of a trip out of just this limited amount of clothing, here's our little hack. When we go to Europe, or frankly anywhere, for more than 10 days, what we always try to do is, whether we stay in hotels or not, we try to book an Airbnb halfway through our trip. And that's because in an Airbnb, they normally, not always, so check the listing, but a lot of times they will have a washing machine, and then you can do your laundry. Now, the one thing to know is that in Italy, most Airbnbs, even if they have a washer, they're not going to have a dryer, because dryers are just not as common a thing in Italy. What you'll have to do probably is dry your clothes on a drying rack. And so the tip is you want to stay in that Airbnb a couple of nights to give your clothes an opportunity to dry before you have to pack them and move off again. So let's move on to my personal item bag. Last trip I got this Osprey Daylight expandable backpack, and it worked out perfectly because it's just the right size. It's not too big, but it does expand in case you have extra stuff. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to take, and I'm going to pack it in here. So first I'm going to pack my laptop, because that's key. And this backpack has a laptop sleeve, so I'm just going to put that right down in there. And then in this small compression bag, I've actually got an extra t-shirt, a pair of socks, and a couple of undies. In case, for some reason, they don't let us bring our suitcase on the plane, sometimes the overhead bins are full, and they make you check your bag, I want to have a backup set of clothing in case anything happens. So I'm going to put that all the way at the bottom of my backpack. I probably won't need it, but better to be safe than sorry. Next, I've got Bose noise canceling headphones, which I think are critical for an airplane. If you want to watch TV or a movie, it's the only way that you can hear over the engine noise. Then I've got my tech bag, and I'm going to talk a little bit about a couple of items in here. One is, be sure always to bring a power bank, because when you're out and about and taking videos using GPS, etc., it really sucks up the battery on your phone. And then this is something new that I got. This is a charging station that will charge your phone, your AirPods, and your Apple Watch all in one, and then it folds up like this into this tiny little thing, and I just think it's great. I also got this universal adapter, plug adapter, where you can put the US plug in here, and then this will plug into any type of outlet anywhere in the world. So it's got these different prongs depending on where you are. This is the one for most of Europe, but it'll work pretty much anywhere, and it's pretty, it doesn't take up much room. And then of course I have my AirPods and my adapters, etc. So that's what I have in my tech bag. So I'll put that down here. I've got my liquids bag and also my prescriptions in here because you always want to travel with your prescriptions in your personal item bag. You never want to get separated from them. So make sure you take them with you. I've got a little shopping bag that folds up into nothing. Put that in here. Of course, it'll be rainy over there, so I'm going to bring a small umbrella. And other than that, I think I'm good to go. Possibly a snack. Now, one thing that I should point out, I always bring a crossbody bag with a zipper. That is really important to foil would-be pickpockets. And I got this last year at Quince, and it's great. I would also say do not bring your big wallet from home with all your credit cards and library cards and Starbucks cards, etc. Bring a smaller wallet that you can just put a couple of credit cards, European money, and a few other things. I've got this one, I've had it for years. It's got all these zippers, so I can put American money in one and euros in the other, credit cards in another, and that way I don't risk losing everything if my big wallet from home gets stolen. And then what I like to do is make sure that my purse will fit into my backpack, because sometimes when you get on the airlines and they say you can bring 2 things on board and you've got a carry-on bag and a personal item, they might say you need to put your purse inside. So I always want to be able to fit it in there. And there I am, ready to go. Now there's one thing that I haven't mentioned, of course, and that is my coat. I obviously need a coat if I'm going to Europe in winter. Now normally I live in South Carolina, so I barely have the need of a coat. So for this trip, I actually ordered a really warm down puffer coat from Quince. And we are going to be, especially when we go to Italy, we're going to the Olympics. So I'm going to be sitting in cold ice rinks, and I'm going to be standing up on the mountain watching the skiing events, etc. So I'm always cold, so I want this coat to keep me warm. Ed thinks it's a little bit of overkill, but since I'm always cold, I'm going with it. So now that you've heard all of my packing tips and what I'm going to be taking to Italy on an upcoming trip, you can get my packing list, and we have a free PDF that you can download. It'll be in a link in the description box below. And if you want more packing tips, watch this video about how to avoid packing mistakes when you travel to Italy. Ciao for now.